for example, much more effective than simply trying to persuade them to stop, is to show them, perhaps by mirroring their bad behavior in some way, how annoying that habit feels to other people. If you want to make people with low self-esteem feel better about themselves, praise has a superficial effect. Instead, you must prod them into accomplishing something tangible, giving them a real experience. That will translate into a much deeper feeling of confidence. If you want to communicate an important idea, you must not preach. Instead, make your readers or listeners connect the dots and come to the conclusion on their own. Make them internalize the thought you are trying to communicate. Make it seem to emerge from their own minds. Such indirect communication has the power to penetrate deep behind people's defenses. In speaking this new language, learn to expand your vocabulary beyond explicit communication. Silence, for instance, can be used to great effect. By keeping quiet, not responding, you say a lot. By not mentioning something that people expect you to talk about, you call attention to this ellipsis. Make it communicate. Similarly, the details, what Machiavelli calls le cose piccole, the little things, in a text, speech, or work of art, have great expressive power. When the famous Roman lawyer and orator Cicero wanted to defame the character of someone he was prosecuting, he would not accuse or rant. Instead, he would mention details from the life of the accused. The incredible luxury of his home. Was it paid for out of illegal means? The lavishness of his parties, the style of his dress, the little signs that he considered himself superior to the average Roman. Cicero would say these things in passing, but the subtext was clear. Without hitting listeners over the head, it directed them to a certain conclusion. In any period, it can be dangerous to express ideas that go against the grain of public opinion or offend notions of correctness. It is best to seem to conform to these norms, then, by parroting the accepted wisdom, including the proper moral ending. But you can use details here and there to say something else. If you are writing a novel, for instance, you might put your dangerous opinions in the mouth of the villain, but express them with such energy and color that they become more interesting than the speeches of the hero. Not everyone will understand your innuendos and layers of meaning, but some certainly will, at least those with the proper discernment. And mixed messages will excite your audience. Indirect forms of expression, silence, innuendo, loaded details, deliberate blunders, make people feel as if they were participating, uncovering the meaning on their own. The more that people participate in the communication process, the more deeply they internalize its ideas. In putting this strategy into practice, avoid the common mistake of straining to get people's attention by using a form that is shocking or strange. The attention you get this way will be superficial and short-lived. By using a form that alienates a wide public, you narrow your audience. You will end up preaching to the converted. As the case of Machiavelli demonstrates, using a conventional form is more effective in the long run because it attracts a larger audience. Once you have that audience, you can insinuate your real and even shocking content through details and subtext. In war, almost everything is judged by its result. If a general leads his army to defeat, his noble intentions do not matter. Nor does the fact that unforeseen factors may have thrown him off course. He lost. No excuse will do. One of Machiavelli's most revolutionary ideas was to apply this standard to politics. What matters is not what people say or intend, but the results of their actions, whether power is increased or decreased. This is what Machiavelli called the effective truth. The real truth, in other words, what happens in fact, not in words or theories. In examining the career of a pope, for instance, Machiavelli would look at the alliances he had built and the wealth and territory he had acquired, not at his character or religious proclamations. Deeds and results do not lie. You must learn to apply the same barometer to your attempts at communication and to those of other people. If a man says or writes something that he considers revolutionary and that he hopes will change the world and improve mankind, but in the end hardly anyone is affected in any real way, then it is not revolutionary or progressive at all. Communication that does not advance its cause or produce a desired result is just self-indulgent talk, reflecting no more than people's love of their own voice and of playing the role of the moral crusader. The effective truth of what they have written or said is that nothing has been changed. The ability to reach people and alter their opinions is a serious affair, as serious and strategic as war. You must be harsher on yourself and on others. Failure to communicate is the fault not of the dull-witted audience, but of the unstrategic communicator. Reversal. Even as you plan your communications to make them more consciously strategic, you must develop the reverse ability to decode the subtexts, hidden messages, and unconscious signals in what other people say. When people speak in vague generalities, for example, and use a lot of abstract terms like justice, morality, liberty, and so on, without really ever explaining the specifics of what they are talking about, they are almost always hiding something. This is often their own nasty but necessary actions, which they prefer to cover up under a screen of righteous verbiage. When you hear such talk, be suspicious. Meanwhile, people who use cutesy colloquial language, brimming with cliches and slang, may be trying to distract you from the thinness of their ideas, trying to win you over not by the soundness of their arguments, but by making you feel chummy and warm toward them. And people who use pretentious, flowery language crammed with clever metaphors are often more interested in the sound of their own voices than in reaching the audience with a genuine thought. In general, you must pay attention to the forms in which people express themselves. Never take their content at face value. Here are further reflections on communication strategies. From the I Ching. The most superficial way of trying to influence others is through talk that has nothing real behind it. The influence produced by such mere tongue-wagging must necessarily remain insignificant. From Rules for Radicals by Saul D. Alinsky. When you are trying to communicate and can't find the point in the experience of the other party at which he can receive and understand, then you must create the experience for him. I was trying to explain to two staff organizers in training how their problems in their community arose because they had gone outside the experience of their people. That when you go outside anyone's experience, not only do you not communicate, you cause confusion. They had earnest, intelligent expressions on their faces and were verbally and visually agreeing and understanding. But I knew they really didn't understand and that I was not communicating. I had not got into their experience. So I had to give them an experience. From The Histories by Herodotus. The letter set Cyrus thinking of the means by which he could most effectively persuade the Persians to revolt, and his deliberations led him to adopt the following plan.